Holy shizzle. Got it.
Let me change my.
It says we're streaming now. Holy shit. Oh,
Let
I
me
just
open you,
myself.
bro.
Don't
Yep, we're on.
cool. Let me make sure I send this to myself. Now I have many men stuck in my head. Many men.
We can listen to you when we get offline.
Love mice and dog and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined to be. And people try to take my life away. Many
Hi,
men.
Rikara. Thank you for coming.
Who's here?
Rikara.
Oh, hello. I'm so sorry we're late. I was having testicle difficulties. Sorry. And I have to send myself this paper so I can talk about horoscopes for everyone for Venus conjunct Mars and the malefic enclosure. Oh my. Hey, girls. Hey. Is anyone else here, sweetheart?
Not that I see, no.
Also, it might be good to do my whole thing first. Well, I don't know. It depends on if motherfuckers come, you know.
Well, there's three people watching, so to the people watching, thank
Three.
you.
Yay! Many men wish death upon me. Love miles and dog, and I can't see. I'm trying to be what I'm destined.
Rikara said, and she pronounced my name right. Yes, baby, yes. Virgo rising here to get this knowledge. I love Virgo risings, especially if it's like early degree conjunct my Venus.
I've dated some Virgo risings.
I also have dated some Virgo risings.
I think I've dated every fucking sign, yo. I have to go back and think about it. I don't know if I've actually dated a Libra, but I think I have. I mean, I don't even know the astrology of everyone I've dated, but I always make that joke. It's like, yo, I'm not a slut, but I've been through the zodiac more times than Venus. You know?
You want to know what's funny though?
So I
You
am a
know,
slut.
you know what sign I've dated the most?
What's that?
Geminis.
Too funny. So the other thing, as we talk, like wait till we finish. We should wait like a half a second, just to make sure the person is done speaking. Otherwise, we'll sound like we're in a ping pong match.
Maybe that's what they want.
Many men wish death upon me. Lot of miles and dark, and I can't see. People try to take my life away.
Okay, thank you, Rikara, for saying that. Please, 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 please.
What did she say? Oh yeah, I like shit.
I will hunt you down in your sleep, people. I'm a Scorpio Mars.
Sleepy.
Like, sub, comment, and share the stream, please.
Yes,
It
please.
helps the channel. And we love you. We don't want to come find you in your dreams.
I mean, you know,
Okay, I'm done now.
I'm sort of like the femme Freddy Krueger, you know. I will haunt your dreams. I will haunt your dreams. Haunt your dreams. Okay. So I don't know. Let's leave it up to them. Should I get through my horoscopes for Venus conjunct Mars and talk about all this shit first? Or do people want attention? And they're like, I want attention. Usually I want attention. I just started seeing someone and they like giving me attention. I mean, define seeing. I mean, I could see them, but you know. It was so wild. Like I got home Sunday night at like 9 and I just matched with this person. Next thing I know, they're at my house. And I'm like, you're not gonna remove my kidneys and leave me in a bathtub full of ice, are you? You know? Amber, are you still here? So anyway, if We're not doing that, Amber?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just commenting stuff, but you're fine.
Well, I will do my Venus Mars spiel then, if we're not having pressing issues or pressing desires by anyone in particular.
Not from what I last checked. So if you want to, take it away.
Let me get my paper. Where's my paper? Because I have to keep notes, you know. Fucking Gemini, you know. Gemini Mars. But anyway, I wanted to talk about something. Yes. I'm both excited and a little nervous. Why? Well, my mama Venus, our lewd lady of lust, is about to conjoin Mars in just a few days, right? I mean, that shiz is hot and sexy. You know, you have all that Martian passion and drive blending with the Venusian sensuality and desire. But what does that mean, right? To me, it means steam. Steam. Mars is hot and Venus is wet. So I'm talking about lots and lots of sultry, steamy, slimy, juicy. Well, you know what I mean. Yeah. And I have to be honest with you. You all pretty much know this, but half my personality is astrology and the other half is just absolute filth. I'm super fun though, you know. So you should watch more of my stuff if you're watching this for the first time. But this is the quintessential filthy transit, right? It's where lust and aggression meet, isn't it? Venus is feeling extra frisky and wants a ride. She's being a cowgirl. Yes, cowgirl. A reverse cowgirl. You know? Sounds like so much fun, doesn't it? But then why am I nervous? Well, Mars may be fun, but he's definitely not very nice, is he? Mars and Saturn are the malefic planets, you know? Meaning they bring the challenging and painful events of our lives, don't they? Excuse me. Excuse me. But modern astrologers always get all wacky with me when I bring up the words malefic and benefic, you know? They always say, oh, there's nothing really bad in astrology, right? It's all good from the angle of the soul. Okay, cool. Yeah, relativity, right? Sure, whatever. But how does it feel to get slapped in the face? You know? I mean, some of us like that sort of thing, you know? I mean, I got some marks. I love seeing marks. I love seeing marks. But you know, it's generally not a nice feeling, is it, to get hurt? And that's what I mean. You know, it's the subjective experience of these things. You know, and Saturn is, of course, the greater malefic, and Mars is the lesser, right? Whereas Saturn denotes long, drawn out, and protracted struggles, you know, painful conditions that seem to persist. And Mars is more abrupt. It's like quick collisions, injuries, fights, all that sort of thing. Mars cuts things off, right? Well, Mars cuts things off while Saturn slowly gnaws them off, you know. It's like when a coyote gets caught in a bear trap, you know, that old sort of adage where they, you know, excuse me. But that's why Mars rules surgery and breakups and all the like, you see. Meanwhile, Saturn rules imprisonment and isolation. But the reason I'm nervous The reason I'm nervous is because these two mean planets are about to conspire together in a specific configuration that's recognized in ancient astrology. And I'm talking about malefic enclosure. And what does that mean? It pretty much means what it sounds like. It's when a planet is wedged between both malefics. In this case, it's my mama Venus, right? Let's look at the fun chart now. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen. Share my screen, share my screen. Oh, wait, no, you don't want to see all that. Let me stop share. I just got to share one window. There's a YouTuber that just made a big controversy because they shared their screen or something, and something naughty came up that shouldn't have come up. And they're getting in trouble. So anyway, share my screen, share my screen. Am I sharing just this window? I think I'm just sharing this window. Yes. Yes. Where the hell is everything? I fucking hate this shit. You know, you're not a Gemini if you don't have 40 fucking windows open on your desktop. It's not very good though. So anyway, excuse me. So here's Venus right here. You see how she's conjunct Mars within minutes right now. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead a day. And boom, you see they're conjunct. And boom, right? Venus has just leapt ahead of Mars. You see? So what is malefic enclosure? It's when a planet is wedged between both malefics. You see Saturn's over here in Pisces and Mars is over here. And Venus, well, and the Sun and Mercury are all sort of stuck in between. But I particularly care about Venus because, you know, she's my mama and she's one of the benefics. And she's a planet associated with social relations, right? So it makes a big difference in our lives because this is how people get along. You see? So I sort of think of it as Venus is about to climb on top of Mars. And as soon as she's done with her oh, O's, her O face, she climbs off right into malefic enclosure, doesn't she? Now Mars rules the blood. So it's sort of like she's starting her cycle, isn't it? You know, immediately after. And you could think of conjunctions as the beginning of a cycle, you know. But basically, this means that a planet can't express itself properly. They struggle to express their essential qualities. So it really sucks when a good or benefic planet, like my mama Venus, enters malefic enclosure because there's a typical promise of pleasure, right, that she carries with her. And this gets diluted, drained, and suppressed and spoiled by Martian conflicts and failures. It's like Venus has to fly under the radar, you know? Rolling with the homies. But before we talk about what it means for you, I want to talk a little bit about what Venus conjunct Mars means in a birth chart, right? Firstly, Venus is what? Desire, beauty, pleasure, the feminine nature, and our social nature, right? Mars, on the other hand, is aggression, passion, violence, and victory as well as the masculine nature, you see? And when these blend in a conjunction, we often see what? Aggressive desire, right? These people know how to get what they want, and they don't often take no for an answer. And yes, this does have a toxic expression too. It can indicate a tendency to be abusive and domineering sometimes. Yes, it has its toxic expressions, like I said, but like being willing to do whatever it takes to get people to do what you want. I don't know if anyone remembers Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but there was Meatwad. He's a little meatball character. And he said, do what I said, because I said it. You know, it's that kind of thing. And these people can be quite blunt and direct. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Because I don't need to show you the chart anymore. But these people can be quite blunt and direct and hurt people's feelings, whether they mean to or not. Excuse me. But it can be good for leadership. I've had friends with this who are in management positions in restaurants. And they were very good at motivating people. You know, the good kind of manipulation. We often call it inspiration. You know, it lifts people up to want to do things. And this is because Venus is our social nature. And these natives are able to express their desires with a little fuerza. Fuerza, you know, force and passion. But that force and passion can also lead to relationship struggles, right? I mean, those of you with this placement, I'm sure know about that. You know, and that can be from the force of the native's own sexuality and desire, right? Sometimes we want more than one partner can give. Excuse me. And we can get the wandering eye. And that's not necessarily bad if you're polyamorous. And we communicate all these things to our partners. But in monogamous relationships, we can see that impulsiveness and sometimes abrasive communication style being hurtful to our sensitive partners, right? Unless you're like me, you know. I mean, I know I'm a masochist because I get my feelings hurt all the time. Boom. But these natives don't usually care about social niceties or expectations. I'm a Libra moon. That's not me. Right? I'm hyper aware of what I think people are thinking. But they don't care. And they can be quite abrasive and just say stuff that would typically sound offensive. You know, it's like you might be coming into work and they'll say to you like, hey, how are those hemorrhoids doing? Right in front of everyone, you know. Has it gotten any better yet? Did you try the Prep H pads like I told you? You know. Embarrassing. And they don't care. This can also manifest as confidence and arrogance, though. And people often ask me what the difference is between confidence and arrogance. I always say that the difference is awareness and effort. Arrogance is easy. It requires neither of them. You just assume that you're better than people. And boom, done. Like, yeah, I could totally do that. I could totally do that if I wanted to. Confidence, on the other hand, is hard won through what? Pain and suffering. I'm Saturn girl. Everything comes through pain and suffering. Right? Remember the Princess Bride? You mock my pain. Life is pain. Anyone who says otherwise is selling something. Right? To me, that's true. But it's also pain punctuated by amazing joy, isn't it? But it comes through the pain of accomplishment. That's where confidence comes from. It takes both awareness and effort to accomplish things, doesn't it? Right? Confidence comes from actually doing shit. It's like we can look back and say, yeah, I fucking did that, yo. And I know I can do that. And these are the kind of people who can make good leaders as long as they show that they can be in the trenches with the people that they're leading. We often see a balanced and unconventional gender expression too. Beauty and looks will still matter a lot, but it's more of the Martian aesthetic, you know. Like, I think of bodybuilding and muscles. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The athletic aesthetic, right? Like when you show up in sports bras and joggers and a baseball cap, right? And we'll see women express more of their masculine nature with this placement, and men express more of their feminine nature, quite typically. Like I think of dudes who are metrosexual. We don't use that term anymore, but you know, it's a 90s thing. It was when guys were interested in self-care. We see men who are obsessed with fashion and style. Like, for example, Adolf Hitler had an exact conjunction between Venus and Mars in Taurus. And look how obsessed the Nazis were with Hugo Boss and leather. You know, I'm firmly anti-fascist, extremely anti-fascist. But I'm also into kink, you know, and we've successfully taken back leather culture, thank goodness, because they don't deserve it. But I also think of pantsuits, you know, the Hillary Clinton look. I mean, she does have Venus square Mars. But the common manifestation for women that I see with this is tomboys, right? It's like girls who like to do boy stuff. You know, the girls who eat boy slop and do boy math. I mean, I had a few ex-girlfriends that did boy math on me, you know. But I mean, those are bad examples. But we do see women who prefer having male friends, perhaps that love going to sporting events or, you know, into cars, right? I'm kind of athletic, but I hate sports and I hate watching them. We also see girls who rebel against fashion or things commonly labeled as girly. I mean, I love this kind of energy, you know? These are the kind of girls who love to chug a beer and they burp really loud in front of everyone. And they show they like you by busting your balls a little bit and getting your goat, yanking your chain. I mean, this is my experience. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I think it's fun. It's just when it crosses the line into being mean and spiteful that it's not fun, right? And some quick examples of famous people with this Venus-Mars conjunction in their birth charts are, number one, Julia Stiles. I love Julia Stiles, right? Remember? Well, first of all, she has them in Aries, the conjunction Venus and Mars. So that's pretty cool. And Venus is not happy in Aries, as we know. She's already brash there. And one of my favorite things that Julia Stiles did was 10 Things I Hate About You. Remember that movie from the 90s? Well, it was 99. It was the very end of the 90s. But she played a character named Kat, who was a tomboy athletic type, who also went through an abusive relationship situation in high school, right? And as a consequence, she hid her vulnerability behind a wall of aggression. And she keeps trying to prove herself, right, to this other male character. In real life, though, she is a big sports fan. And she even threw out the first pitch at a Mets game. And she's a self-described feminist. And she's a fighter for women's issues. She's very political. The other person I saw with this is Deborah Ann Wool. God, they're both so beautiful, aren't they? And Deborah Ann Wool, right? She's the famous actress who played Karen Page in the Marvel series Daredevil and in The Punisher. Excuse me. And like Styles, she also has her Venus-Mars conjunction in Aries. Yeah. That's so mama. Like, oh my gosh, mama, you know. And in a similar fashion, her character had a very assertive and even sort of masculine presentation. I mean, she's a fighter who doesn't give up, right? And what's interesting about her in real life is she's totally involved and immersed in this tabletop gaming stuff, right? Like Dungeons and Dragons and all that kind of stuff. I'm like the only trans woman who knows nothing about Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm sorry, but it's not my jam. It's really boring and silly to me. I can't stand Renaissance fairs. I can't stand cosplay. I can't stand like LARPing and all that nonsense. I really can't even stand anime, to be honest with you. To me, anime's creepy. They all look like children of the corn to me, you know, with big eyes. I can't get into it. And I know I piss off people in my own community, but I come from the kink world, right? Where a dungeon master is something totally different than what it means, right? And Deborah Ann Wool is a dungeon master, right? In the tabletop world, in Dungeons and Dragons. Like I said, I come from the kink world, and a dungeon master is something way different. But who else has this? Kanye West, now known as Ye, right? Once he was famous for his iconic hip hop songs, and now he's just famous for anti Semitism. Wow. And like his hero Hitler, he has his conjunction with Venus and Mars in Taurus. And he's obsessed with fashion, right? He's always been a bit metro and fussy about his looks. But his arrogance and his abrasiveness have also alienated him in public and private life. And we can see this, right, in his relationship issues and his very public breakdown. Another rotten person that has this, in fact, a very rotten person, was Jeffrey Epstein, right? The infamous child trafficker and rapist. And he died in prison, right, under mysterious circumstances. I mean, it really wasn't that mysterious. It's sort of like, we know what didn't happen, right? Anyway, he was a master of manipulation and abuse in order to get people to do the evil things that he wanted. And his influential abilities got him into some very exclusive social circles where he was able to commit his hideous acts under the radar and under the cover of his big connections. And similar to Kanye, he was also obsessed with the fashion industry and modeling, mostly exploiting models. I'm so sorry that wasn't cute. Ugh, pardon me. But what does this mean for you in transit? Well, remember that Venus is our social nature, so her usual charm will be overtaken by awkwardness when she enters malefic enclosure. In Aquarius, she wants to explore different types of sexuality and relationships. But while she is enclosed, any attempts to be smooth and seductive are going to fall flat on their face. Like, did you ever see the movie American Pie? I'm sorry, everything's in movies to me. And remember that scene where Jason Biggs is about to make love to Nadia, right? The beautiful foreign exchange student. And she asks him to do a seductive dance for her. And he starts like, looking like he's having convulsions. Or like he's an armadillo trying to make love to a football. This doesn't mean that you can't have romantic fun. It just means that you shouldn't be too it just means that you shouldn't be too attached to expectations. And if things get awkward, just acknowledging it and laughing about it can take away the tension, you know? Like I had a recent hookup and we both had just met each other and we both felt terribly awkward at first, but just being open about it and laughing about it and talking about it, it made the whole encounter very easy and feel very natural and comfortable, you know? Excuse me. It also helps that I'm a slut. Bong. However, Venus won't be able to reconcile conflicts as easy as she typically does. She'll be secretly carrying around that Martian energy that she's so apt to use to upset people. She'll often express this by being what? Catty and aggressive. Remember to keep those snide remarks to yourself and don't be a mean girl. Remember that uplifting people can feel very uplifting to you as well. Right? But in order to see how this will manifest for you in particular, we need to do your horoscopes. And we always do these based on each rising sign. So you'll get the most out of them if you know your rising sign. But if you don't, just watch for your sun sign. Let me pull up the fun chart here. Share my screen. And let's go to Aries rising. Aries rising. So for Aries rising, Aquarius is your 11th house, right, of hopes and friends. When Mars charges in, he often stirs up conflicts with our friends and in our social circles. You may have been acting a bit proud lately, or maybe you made some stupid gaffes, or you could have just lost your temper and found yourself cut off from other people. But Venus, right, coming in initially makes us regret some of our harsh words or actions. But watch out, because when she's enclosed, she can't really reconcile with people like she normally does. She'll turn to sour grapes. She gets resentful, right? And can even cause more of a mess if she's not aware of herself. And the thing here that you have to do is act with integrity. And that means doing the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable. Because you need other people to help you succeed, right? Stand up for yourself, but don't alienate yourself. Yes? Well, what about Taurus rising? So for Taurus rising, Aquarius is your 10th house of life direction. So Mars here creates conflicts in our work life, particularly with authority figures like bosses. Those conflicts also can hurt your chances of getting new opportunities. So you got to be mindful of burning bridges or harming your reputation. Venus, on the other hand, gives a sense of diplomacy here, and she finds she can make amends, except when she's enclosed. Then she starts talking shit, gossiping, spreading rumors. But all of her little passive-aggressive bullshit can backfire just as bad. And the trick here is to not take things too personally. And that's easier said than done. You may have had an embarrassing moment that came up, but there's nothing you can do about it now. And you can't change how people think. All you can do is do your best. And act as if everyone was going to read about it in the front page of the New York Times, right? Does anyone still remember the New York Times? Or print media even? I mean, I don't think Amber even knows about that. But what about Gemini rising? Gemini rising people. This puts Aquarius in your 9th house. And Mars coming in likely made you a bit of a And Mars coming in likely made you a bit of a fanatic, and probably defensive about your beliefs, whether it's spirituality or politics. Usually is one of those two things. Venus, on the other hand, helps us to see other points of view and to see the bigger context in which they all sort of connect and intersect, and how they are reactions, right, or responses to societal conditions. But when Venus is enclosed, you will likely get a bit resentful, and you'll probably be dismissive of other points of view, and sort of snidely trash them behind other people's backs, right? Like, what they think? Oh my God, they're so stupid. The lesson here is to see context, though, and to understand why people may think the way that they do. Of course, some people's beliefs are absolutely abhorrent and entail hurting vulnerable people. So you don't have to accept those at all. But it does help to see perhaps why they think such vile things. Well, what about Cancer rising? So for Cancer rising, Aquarius is your 8th house of death and debt. Mars here encourages you to want to spend money that you don't have, right? To use that credit card. And you may be having issues with tax season, because that's a big thing coming up. You may also find yourself getting angry about a past situation, something that you were suppressing that pops back up, gets triggered. And as I said before, Venus usually helps us to reconcile both our balance sheets and with the people we're angry at. But when she's enclosed here, she does these very half-hearted reconciliations. It's like, I'm sorry, but, or I'm sorry you feel that way, but, or I said this because you said that, right? There's resentment in the apology, right? There's a little tinge of blame or reverse blame in the apology. And the trick here is to anticipate your desire to spend, right, on the money side, right? Your potential losses, and also your anger, right? That way you can be ready to make better decisions rather than just reacting, which is what Mars tends to do, right? But what about Leo rising? Leo rising. And don't worry, we'll get to all your charts in a minute. Let me just finish these fucking horoscopes for rising signs. And then we'll look at your shit. Okay. But for Leo rising, Aquarius is your 7th house of partnerships. And Mars has probably been stirring up conflicts in your relationships, especially romantic ones, right? You may be feeling agitated with your partner or vice versa. Remember to think before you speak here, because hurtful comments right now could fester, right? And they could lead to more conflicts later. Now, Venus usually helps to resolve these conflicts, but when she enters enclosure, you could find these resolutions to be half-hearted and non-committal. Venus can also indicate someone else coming into your life. Perhaps a woman or a trans woman who captivates your attention. I'm not dropping hints, Leo rising, but you know. The key here, though, is to take me out, and besides that, to walk away from arguments so that you can be precise with your thoughts and intentions, right? You don't want to just word vomit things out that you're going to regret later. You want to be able to express yourself clearly to your partners. It would also do you good to lighten up a little bit, right? Let go and enjoy new people. I'm not advertising, but I'm a shameless self-promoter. Well, what about Virgo rising homies? So for Virgo rising, Aquarius is your 6th house, right? Of obligations. Mars has probably been given Look, Mars has probably been giving you the drive to get these things done, right? And cross them off the list. But it could feel quite tedious, and you probably risk burnout. And Venus usually helps us to slow down and prioritize tasks so that we still find time for rest. But when she's in closed, rest isn't rest, is it? Because we keep dwelling and lingering on things. Or perhaps you start getting lazy, right? And find it hard to get going again. I mean, alternatively, though, you could get a new pet or an animal comes into your life. And I don't mean me. The trick here, though, is to budget your time and only pick so many tasks per day and be kind with yourself. And find things that will help you be present during your downtime rather than sitting there worrying and getting stuck in your head, which Virgos so love to do, don't they? And what about our Libra rising friends? This is Amber. This is Amber, Libra rising. And this puts Aquarius in your 5th house of children and fun.
Yay, children and fun.
Mars has probably been stirring up conflicts with your children, and I bet they've been a pain. I bet they've been a pain in the ass, even though you love them. You and I both know kids can be assholes. You don't gotta lie to kick it. Come on. Now, you may also be getting amorous, right? And lustful. Or you may find yourself getting pouty or selfish about enjoying yourself. And Venus usually helps us to find a balance, right? And we get to release our demons. Just a little bit, you know. A lot of my demons reside in my fluids. Venus enclosed, though, makes having fun tedious and feel like a mixed bag. Romantic encounters and pleasurable outings will tend to have something go wrong. Not that they're all bad, but you could be out at a baseball game or something and you're waiting in line, you know, for popcorn. And the Karen in front of you just starts a bunch of shit, starts yelling at people and turns around to you like, ah! You know, they kind of sour your good time a little bit so that when you talk later, well, yeah, it was a great game, but then there was this awful person, you know? The trick here is to let go of expectations and not stress on having a good time. When you try and have a good time, it's usually not very good. And stuff goes bad sometimes. It just does, you know, like organic produce. But try to live in the moment and not be too upset when things don't go according to your plans. But what about Scorpio rising people? Scorpio rising. This is Aquarius in your 4th house, right? So Mars has probably been bringing a lot of agitation around the home. Or maybe you've been a bit tyrannical about your space and privacy. You know, and sometimes things break. Or we break them, right? Don't be a Kyle. Be nice to the drywall. What did the drywall do to you? We also tend to get in fights with pushy parents, roommates, and landlords during these things. But Venus usually brings harmony to our home situation, and we feel the need to decorate or beautify, right? Our area, our living space to reflect how we feel on the inside. But when she gets enclosed, nothing feels quite right. Everything feels equally dissatisfying. No amount of leveling will be able to make that picture frame look right. No. You're just going to be like, you know? But the key is to hold to your boundaries here. You'll need to designate time where everyone needs to leave you the fuck alone. so you can recharge your batteries. You'll want to push yourself when you've already been stressed and tired and you need to take time out. You see, this is going to be quite important for you. My Scorpio rising. Ooh, the person I just started seeing is a Scorpio rising. You know? Scorpio rising. Excuse me, that's not nice. That's not ladylike. Ah, but what about Sagittarius rising? Sagittarius rising. This puts Aquarius in your third house of siblings, community, and communication. Now, Mars may be sparking conflicts with siblings or extended family at this time. And you're also prone to what? Road rage, trying to rush around, finishing errands. And you'll also have a tendency to be using harsh words, right? And Venus usually helps smooth these things over, right? Conflicts, and makes us seem more eloquent, poetic, and tactful. But when she's enclosed, she gets very passive aggressive, doesn't she? She's like Mean Girls. She suddenly starts saying things that would be hurtful if they weren't so stupid. And the key here is not to get carried away by fleeting feelings and let little interactions change your overall opinions of people. You see, people make mistakes, and so do you. And if you give in to the impulse, right, to be a little bully, it will bite you in the ass later, I promise you. But what about our Capricorn rising friend? So this puts Aquarius in your second house, right, of finances. And watch out, because Mars in the second house gives us the drive to overspend. And we end up hurting ourselves in the long run, don't we? We make impulsive decisions and we regret them later. Venus, though, here, right? She's a bit like Madonna. I'm living in a material world, and I am a material girl. Yeah, I am a material girl. She can bring luck with money, but when she's enclosed, she lets her desire for nice things run amok, and she falls back into destructive Martian spending habits. Right? She lets Mars influence her decisions. And the key here is to anticipate this and have a set budget for the rest of this month and for the month of March. And just know that spending beyond these limits is going to make you quite upset later. And what about Aqua rising? Aquarius rising, friends. This is me and my people. And Aquarius is our first house of self. And Mars here, right, adds to our confidence after being in the 12th house, where we feel self-loathing a little bit. And we get invigorated and charged up, don't we? But be careful, because we're prone to accidents. So we need to slow down and pay attention to what we're doing so that we don't have a bad time. Venus here, though, makes us a lot more charming. We feel beautiful and sexy. But like, the popular girl in high school, right? But how you treat people will affect you later, right? You should be proud of yourself. That's fine. And it's okay to feel like a little goddess. Like me. I'm a little goddess. But not at the expense of others, right? The key is to remember, when Venus's confidence is tempered with love, then she delights in the confidence and success of others. Like I should be delighting in Amber, and her success and confidence. But what about Pisces rising? See, we're almost done. Pisces rising. And this puts Aquarius in your 12th house of self-destruction and isolation. And Mars here will make us feel quite prickly, right? Resentful. And he encourages self-destructive behavior and habits. It's like we suddenly say, fuck it, right? We get a fuck it mentality. And we can justify making bad decisions. Venus here typically helps us to consider why we feel the way we do, and encourages us to take some healing time out from stressful situations. And it's usually a great time to, seek help or get therapy with our mental health. But when she's enclosed, she gets deceptive and resentful. She deceives herself by justifying her destructive behavior. Like, well, they did this to me, so why should I care? Oh, I deserve this. And that kind of nonsense. So the key here is to remember that the issue has nothing to do with others, but with you and your relationship to yourself. We gain confidence by what? As I said earlier, by doing things and achieving real results, not magical thinking. That nonsense doesn't do shit. And at the same time, don't let hopelessness get the better of you, because that's our main enemy in the 12th house is hopelessness. There's always a dawn. There's always a new day. And nothing ever stays the same. Even dreadful situations don't stay the same. So learn to cultivate optimism and a hopeful view for the future. And that will make this a lot better transit for you. Anyway, I'm done messing with that stuff now. So I hope it was useful for you. I mean, it's all necessary stuff to understand what's going on right now and in your own life. So, and it'll give us a context to talk about readings now for the rest of our time. So, Amber, I haven't been looking at the chat. What did I miss?
I've been responding back. I have 2 natal charts to read.
You do? Sweet. Wait, let me see what's been going on here. Let me see. Oh, and yes, donations are very much appreciated and accepted. And I share donations with Amber. So it's not like you. I am super fun. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, I'm super fun. I sure am. Michelle, Cherie, Elizabeth Sindler. Life has been throwing punches. Then we have Mary Smith, a Gemini. Holy hellfire. I might be the arrogant one. My life is a little easier. That's so funny, Elizabeth. My Venus is trine Mars by 6 degrees. Dope. It's a little bit nicer than the conjunction. My Mars is conjunct Venus in Aries. Mary Smith said, well, hey, mama. Mars conjunct Venus in Aries. What are you doing later? Oh, she said, I love 10 Things I Hate About You. Do you know that movie, Amber? 10 Things I Hate About You?
Yes, even though it came out, when I was like 4 months old.
You were born. Like I was almost graduating from high school then. And see, it's the weird thing. Like I was dating when you were born.
It's not my fault. My mom and you are 10 years apart in age.
See, I could totally date your mom, except for she's not my type.
Oh God, no. I don't think you want a Capricorn moon anyways.
Well, actually.
Oh my God, you sound like the Grinch.
What?
You just sounded like the Grinch.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Caleb
when you
here. Is Caleb still here? And Caleb said, your continued slander against Pisces Mercury across social media will not go unpunished. Caleb knows I love Pisces Mercury. I just like to make fun of their stupid asses.
Yeah, me thinking about my boyfriend at home.
My little brother has Pisces Mercury, and he's literally a genius, Einstein had a Pisces Mercury, I think. and they're just not the best communicators. What can I say? Although Caleb is a brilliant writer, it's just that he writes these fucking novels in post, like Tolstoy. Like, who's supposed to read that? Can you give me the cliff notes of your post, Caleb? Like, holy shit. You know? Like, I just want to know the bullet points. But he makes these beautiful arguments. He makes these beautiful, he's just brilliant. And Caleb is the person that totally wrecked all my beliefs and made me into an empiricist inadvertently, which I'm grateful for because I wouldn't be Saturn girl without him. I would still be some, mystical bitch. So,
Thank you, Witch, for donating. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Astro Witch. You are such an amazing, amazing supporter. Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you, thank you. Who else has said anything? Pisces Mercury slander. I just make fun of Pisces Mercury, Iris. I say it's a bit like putting Vaseline on the lens of a video camera. Or, you remember those magic eye posters from the 90s where like it looked like a bunch of static and you stare at it for a while and you relax your eyes and it's like, ooh, a sailboat. That's like Pisces Mercury thought process. It's like a Monet, a Monet painting. It looks beautiful from far away. And then you get up closer and it's just a bunch of blotches like all over the place. I stole that joke from Clueless. She's a total Monet. Anyway, we better do some charts before I start pissing people off.
It's so accurate, though. That's the funny part about it.
See, this is why people need to follow me because I'm hilarious and I'm accurate. I keep.
And I'm a true client.
And what's that, sweetheart?
I'm a true client. I was a client first.
You were a client first and you kept pestering me and all of a sudden you became my assistant and one of my best friends.
Yes, I don't know how, but I'm very blessed to have you around.
I don't know. I think the way it happened was you just kept annoying me and like bugging me all the time. You're like, hey, what's this? And I'm like, no, that's stupid. Stop it. Anyway, no, I'm very blessed to have you. I am grateful for you, Amber. And on that note, we should look at some fucking charts. I've still got to clip so much shit for videos. I wish my brother would help me more with this stuff.
He's too busy playing with his puppy. That's why he's not here.
His new dog. Yeah. Her name is Winnie.
It's so cute.
It's adorable. They rescued her. So whose chart are we doing first, my darling?
Rikara.
Rikara.
She's a mommy.
She's a what?
She's a Cancer mommy.
Oh, I love Cancer mommies. Can I call you mommy?
Can we call you mommy? She is a mom. She does have to confirm that.
No, well, I meant something different. But are we talking 1C or 2Cs?
Just one.
Okay. And dates?
June 30th, 1982, 10:20 a.m. Boston, Massachusetts.
Austin, Texas?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Austin, Massachusetts?
Boston.
Austin? Boston, Texas? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I think you'll just take any chance to make fun of me, but it's okay. Sometimes I need to be bullied.
I don't mean to. I told you I love you.
It's okay. I love you too. It's okay, guys. I get my revenge off screen.
I was just talking about not being mean to her and then I was mean to her. But it was in fun. It wasn't about being malicious. Boston woman. Oh, and your 6-year-old has a Cancer moon. My 11-year-old, well, she's 10 right now, but she's almost 11, has a Cancer moon also. So anyway, Ricard is a Virgo rising. Very lovely. Very lovely. And the thing about Virgo rising that's quite interesting, is we often think about in modern astrology, they consider the rising sign to be your appearance or your mask. But there's a deeper side to that, you see, that's lost there. Because in ancient astrology, the rising sign was your soul, right? It was the life breath. Rhetorius, Valens, Firmicus Maternus, all these ancient guys. They talked about how the rising sign was the soul. And what does that mean when Virgo is there? There's a mantra for Virgo. It is, I am the mother and the child, right? I, God, I matter, am, right? God, matter, mother, child, all these things, right? We have the Trinity, sort of like, Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, Isis, Osiris, and Horus, right? It's the idea of father, mother, child. And these are sort of symbols for concepts of spirit and matter. And the third, right, or the second principle, which is the union of the two, which is consciousness, love, all these sorts of things, right? And that's, in the New Age parlance and all that, that's what the Christ principle is. It's the union between the two, right? Which I don't really go in for a lot of that shit anymore. But the important part about this is that Virgo's ruled by Mercury. And what this is all about, it's about seeing the life within matter, right? And Mercury's our thought process. So you see, the important thing here is Mercury sort of dissects things naturally, right? Virgo is known for dissection, yes? And this is the thing about Virgo rising, is you can dissect a bird, right? You can see how its bones fit together, how its stomach attaches to its esophagus and then down to its intestines and out its anus, right? But you won't see it fly, will you? You won't see how it interacts and how it relates to the rest of the environment, will you? And this is what Virgo rising is learning. It's learning how to relate the parts to the whole. It's learning to see things within context, because Mercury's all about relating and connections, you see. And so we're learning to connect things, but on an interior level. There's introspection involved, and not morbid introspection, but I mean self-observation, getting to know what you're really like, right? Was it Plato that said that the unexamined life is not worth living? I think it was Plato. Maybe it was Socrates. But you see, the idea is that we don't know ourselves. And Virgo rising has the amazing potential to turn its attention and gaze inward to get to know what it is really, how this machine works, how emotions arise. What is it that gets you upset and all these sorts of things, in order to get more impersonal to them. You see? Now, I don't want to go off on just that, but that's really the most important thing of a chart. And when I do a reading, a natal reading for a client, or what I call a soul path reading, right? It's a cute name for it, but really it's about life orientation. You see, that's what my natal readings are about life orientation, the direction that we're headed in and what we're trying to express and what we want. And what we're capable of, because life is circumscribed by a certain set of limits and boundaries. And we can push those boundaries and limits, to a certain extent, but we're still enclosed or bound in some way. Now, the thing that pops out right away is this is very difficult. This stellium here that you have in your second house. I'm going to call it a stellium, but a real stellium is 3 planets conjunct, right? In the same sign. And Mars and Pluto aren't really conjunct. They're 12 degrees away from each other. I would typically only go out to 10 degrees. You see? But they're still co-present. I'm just going to say stellium for the sake of argument. But when when Mars is conjunct Saturn, Everything is fucking difficult. Everything is difficult. Oh, you were born around the same time I was. I'm a year younger than you. I'm May 22nd of 1983. So you were born with the Saturn Pluto conjunction, you see. And the thing about that, and the last time we saw the Saturn Pluto conjunction was at the beginning of COVID, right? And it brings in these very destructive sort of events, you know. And this was around the time the Soviet Union was crumbling and all that sort of thing. Well, no, that wasn't. That was 89. What was happening in 83? Reagan was president. Anyway, I mean, there was a lot of tumultuous stuff happening economically in the 1980s because the social safety net was being removed, right? That had historically been there since the 1930s. So anyway, we see these sort of things circle back around for us in our own lives, right? This is sort of the backdrop of our life, this Saturn Pluto sort of nonsense. It's a generational thing. It's not something to look at for an individual, but it's just sort of the backdrop of our lives typically, right? But Mars conjunct Saturn, and Mars is very unhappy, right? Mars rules what here? I shouldn't go off on all this shit too much. Mars rules your 8th house. That's nice, right? So there's difficulty with money here. You probably grew up quite poor. And you probably still have a tendency to spend a lot, right? It's probably hard for you to save. I bet you don't save, quite frankly, you know. And that's something that you're going to have to figure out in life. Otherwise, you're going to keep having a bad time. Is how to budget yourself properly and how to practice restraint with finances. Because you see, you're going to be attracted to nice things, aren't you? You are, right? Venus at the top of the chart. Conjunct the midheaven in the 10th house. What's Venus rule here? Your 9th house and your 2nd house. And see, this is a better thing for money. So it's not like it's all bad necessarily. But your 2nd house ruler is Venus, and she's up there conjunct your midheaven. You know, she's angular, which sort of means she's saying, yes, I can do this for you, you know. So money's a big mixed bag for you, probably. Fuck yeah, Scorpio moon, you know. I can't really fuck with Scorpio moons no more. They always go batshit crazy on me. Like, I'm an Aquarius rising, but I'm Plutonian and I have a Cancer Venus. I love intensity. But it's like, can we just be all intense for like 3 hours and then I'll talk to you in like 2 days? You know? They don't like that. You all don't like that when I say that. You want to like dig your fucking scorpion claws into me, you people. You know? But I'm a free bird. Anyway, you probably do have a proficiency with writing and communication with these, you know, Jupiter conjunct the moon in the 3rd house. And the moon rejoices in the 3rd house. You see? Anyway, I should talk about timing and then move on to someone else's chart. Saturn's going through your 7th house for a while until 2026. Saturn was in my 7th house when I got with my ex-wife, you know? So that does happen. When we think of Saturn in the 7th house, we often think of strains in relationships, right? Like it weakens our partnerships with our spouses or whatever, you know, and often leads to breakups or divorces or, you know, but it also creates these binding things, and these binding things that aren't always good for us, you know. It's wonderful that I have such a wonderful child and everything, but it just wasn't the best experience going through that relationship, you know. So there's different ways to look at this. I mean, sometimes we do get involved in a long-term thing that ends up being sort of painful or, you know, not what we expected, or our current situation gets strained. But by the end of this, as we get into mid 2025, we start seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. You know, I mean, there were great times in that relationship for me. There were. And there's a chance you could meet someone new, you see, or there's a chance that you could deepen your current commitment. But that depends on you, right? The thing is we get hyper independence when Saturn goes through our seventh house. We start getting super independent. We don't need people anymore. And that's what often creates the rifts in relationships, you see? Excuse me. Excuse me. Anyway, this whole year's about money for you, with the eclipses going back and forth between your second and eighth house. So there's something wacky with this tax season for you, because the eclipse is going to be in your eighth house, right? On April 8th, right around the time we're having all this tax nonsense. So I just want you to be careful, because I just think this will be a difficult tax season or a financial thing for you. But then the eclipse in October will be in your second house. So I hope that helps advance your income situation, in some way. It could be things like a new job, or a raise, right? But you see, eclipses are big beginnings and big endings, right? Anyway, let me stop sharing for a second and look here. My money burns. Oh, the HIV epidemic. Yes, 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 yes. You're exactly right. The HIV epidemic. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, Rikara. My moon will drag you to hell with me in conversation. Yeah. Well done, well done. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Is there anyone still here? There's like fucking 6 people here. Like, when are we gonna get more fucking people in these? And I go later, and it says like, oh, 50 fucking people watched. Like, well, where were they? And then like within an hour, oh, 100 people watched. Like, did they watch after the fact? Or what? So I don't know. And I have, oh, and thank you so much, because I have 2,025 subscribers now. I lost 50 followers on Facebook in 2 days, and I gained almost 50 on YouTube in 2 days, which was pretty cool. Because I was at like 1990, and now I'm at 2025. I guess that's 35 or 45. Anyway. Who else is next, Amber? I'm hungry.
Me too. I mean, I ate before, but like I still got a little bit of room to put something on my stomach. But Mary's next, the Gemini.
Mary, Mary, why you bugging? You don't know about that, Amber. That's old school.
No, I don't.
That's for grown folks, Amber. You don't know about that.
How you gonna shame me for being 24?
I don't know. It's just weird to me that, like, I don't know. You were born in 99. In 99, I was a sophomore. So I'd already been fooling around with other boys for a while, and I'd already been fooling around with girls. I mean, it's just weird to think about. So it's just weird to think about. Not that it matters, but I just feel old. I feel old. I don't look old, but I feel old.
You're not that old, I promise.
I know, but just like when I turned 40, it's like, am I really 40? Because I feel like a 16-year-old girl. So Mary, Mary, why you bugging? Mary.
Quite contrary.
God damn it, you actually said it. I was like not gonna say it. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells
What?
and something all in a row and pink ladies all in a row. I forget how it goes. Mary, Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With silver bells and cockle shells and something all in a row. I don't remember. But anyway, what was the fucking date? What's the date?
The date is May 26th, 1977
Okay.
at 5:05 p.m. in Pell, Pell. It's like pill, but E
Uh-huh.
City, Alabama.
Alabama, Arkansas, I do love my ma and pa. I used to work with an older Marine gentleman who was from Alabama, and all I ever heard about was the Alabama college football. Alabama, Alabama. I'm like, holy shit. And then another friend was Notre Dame, right? And my girlfriend at the time was Notre Dame. So anyway, but I never liked sports. I'm athletic. I don't like sports. I hate watching sports. I
Can
guess
we
I
go?
can watch basketball or soccer. But, I mean, I can watch football kind of for like a half hour.
You want to go play volleyball?
I suck at it. Like the only sport I like to play is soccer or basketball. Excuse me. I mean, I surf. I was a surfer back in California. That's kind of a sport.
Yeah, I feel like it is.
You more do it by yourself, it's not.
They say cheerleading is not a sport.
Yeah, but I guess it is. I mean,
It,
it is, and it's very expensive. Like, thank God my daughter's not in cheer. Although she might want to go into it, but like you have these fucking competitions and all of it's very expensive. Like you have to be well off to have your kids in fucking cheer. I remember a buddy of mine, another Marine. I had so many military friends. Another buddy of mine, a Marine, would always tell me about, like, oh yeah, we're going to stay in Vegas or we're going to stay in like, and I got to pay $1,000. I'm like, you fucking kidding me, yo? $1,000? Shizzle. Ooh, we got a Scorpio rising here. Mary's a Scorpio rising. Mary, Mary, why you bugging? I just started seeing someone who's a Scorpio rising. Yes. Now it's wild because you've gone through some big changes. And you may have even had a big breakup in 2022 or some explosive relationship problems. And now it's like you've been in an existential crisis for a bit with these eclipses or whatever. And you're in this sort of like cocoon phase where you're like figuring your shit out. You take time out for yourself. Like it's okay to be, especially since October, you've probably retreated or withdrawn a little bit from social and public life. It's like you need to focus on you. This is all about self-healing. And I know that term gets thrown around a lot by a bunch of new age nitwits. But what we're talking about is processing trauma and processing pain. And we do that not by avoiding it, but by allowing ourselves to feel it. And self-care, to me, is about putting yourself in the most comfortable circumstances to process pain. Does that make sense to you? And I don't know if anyone would agree with this or psychologists would agree with this. But to me, once again, self-care is putting ourselves in the material conditions where we can best handle reliving or feeling our trauma, right? That's why we do hot baths and spas and, Epsom salts with lavender. Oh, wait, no, you're allergic to lavender, my dear, right? Yeah. But you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Self-care
I
is
had
some
an bath last night though, and some
what,
hemp seed.
baby? What's that, sweetheart?
I had a hemp seed oil bath. There's Epsom salt with hemp seed oil in it.
That sounds yummy.
It was great.
Did you feel nice and moisturized after?
Yeah, but I still put on lotion after.
Yeah, and you got to do that for sure, especially when you have Mars stuff. Ooh,
I
look,
get
this person has Mars conjunct Venus too. And in Aries, like Julia Stiles and Deborah Ann Wool, right? See, that's really hot to me, you know. I mean, it's really hot to me, but I like that sort of thing. Like these sort of an aggression around it. I dated Virgo moons too. I dated everybody a little bit, but um, you see, when this is in the sixth house, the Venus conjunct Mars thing, it does give us either it can make us sort of submissive, right? Or or it can put us in the service industry, or it can cause health problems, quite frankly, because Venus isn't very happy. You see, Venus rules the 12th house too, and the 7th house. So I bet that you're divorced, number one, because your 7th house ruler's in the 6th house, and it's conjunct Mars. My 7th house ruler is conjunct Mars also, right? And I'm divorced. But we do see frequently that when the 7th house ruler's in the 6th house, that your partners become your enemies. And we do see people who are usually divorced. But the other side of that is looking for partners who are willing, to share the burdens with us, who feel reliable and consistent, you know. It's not like we want a slave, because the 6th house is the house of slavery, but we want someone who we can count on, at least, and someone who's committed. Commitment. You see? I wonder if that makes sense to you. And this may not be you, but that's one of the typical expressions. Your sun is conjunct my sun, Mary. We're both Gemini. Actually, your sun is conjunct my Mars, is what it is. You know? Mary, Mary, why you bugging? And when Saturn is very unhappy in the 10th house, what's that typically do? It makes us into a very late bloomer, or we often feel like we don't have any life direction. And sometimes it feels like our parents had expectations for the way our lives would unfold, but we don't fulfill them. And we often get very guilty, you know, that we didn't do what was expected of us or what they wanted us to do. I mean, that's typically when we're younger. And then as we get older, you know, and you're closer to my age, at this point in our life, when we're in our 40s, this is where things get a lot more clear. And really, what I found is that life sort of begins at 40 for a lot of us, especially Saturn girls. Everything happens later in life, you know? And Saturn is unhappy and having a big effect on you here. At least you have a day chart, so Saturn's not terrible, you see. But um oh, excuse me. Mars is going through your 4th house. So you have to be careful, because we can often cause problems around the home, you see? And we get a bit tyrannical. We want everything done our way. We want everyone to obey us and listen to us. Don't touch that. Don't put that there. That's dirty. That's gross. That's bad. You know? And we get very particular. And you see what that does oftentimes is it really sort of pisses people off around us. You know, because we have to let people sort of live and breathe on their own accord too. And you can't control everything. You know, you're just going to be very agitated about your personal space. You see, where the 12th house is isolation, the 4th house is like your personal space. It's a little bit different. I mean, it's a lot of bit different. But the big thing here, right? The big thing here is often conflicts with the people who reside in our home space. And that's why I typically say conflicts with landlords, right? Because most of us are renting. And what are the common conflicts with landlords? It's stuff like, you know, the T's and C's, the terms and conditions, the rules around our complex or whatever. You know, and if you're in a house, it could be neighbors, although neighbors are in the 3rd house oftentimes too. But if you live in your own place, if you own your own home, right, things break around the home too. And we have to do repairs that we're not expecting. That's another thing that happens. And Venus is here too, though. So it's a double-edged sword. You know, maybe you have to replace things, but you replace them with something more pretty. You see? Oh, excuse me. Amber, it's a 6:45. Do we have any other charts?
I'm waiting for people to comment, but not that I see.
My house got struck by lightning on February 11th. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it sounds very Martian. Just got out of the bath. You're allergic to lavender too. See, I use all rose for everything. I'm like an old lady. Rose is my favorite scent and I love everything rose. Everything rose. We only have 5 people here. Fucking ass. Whatever. People are fucking stupid.
Because I'm technically a viewer.
Oh my God. People are stupid.
I put a post on the page. I don't know why people haven't joined.
No, it's just, you know, at some point we're gonna. People need to watch this sort of thing. You love vanilla, not me.
I also love vanilla. Mary.
Yeah. I'm kinky. I don't like vanilla.
See, me and Mary would get along just great.
I mean, I like vanilla as a flavor of ice cream, but that's all.
I like to smell cookies. Yeah, me too. Like warm vanilla sugar cookie.
I hate that shit. That's all the shit my ex was into. Like all those like Christmas cookies, candles. I'm like, yo, I do fucking rose and that's it. Yeah. I'm all about the roses, vanilla and cookies and cinnamon. Like, it just makes me feel like I'm gaining weight. I'm sorry. I have a tummy that won't go away. What? Jeez. It's just being on estrogen. I can't lose fucking weight anymore. I look like a Tootsie Pop.
No,
I
you
have
do.
skinny little legs and this bulb right here. You know?
Talking about yourself that way. No.
Yeah. I know. I told this person the other night, I'm like, oh my God, I look like a swamp monster. And they were so sweet. They kept saying, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Oh my God, you're so beautiful. And I'm like, oh, keep telling me. This is nice. You know, I enjoy this. This will not be over quickly, but I certainly enjoy it. I got bruises everywhere, like bruises and bite marks. And it's the wild thing because it's like when I was feeling like the sting the next day, I was like, at first I'd be like, oh, 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 you know. Oh, so no more charts, right?
I guess not.
Well, good. We can go get food a little bit early. Well, no, we're gonna stay here till 7 and we're gonna bullshit and then we're gonna get food. After this, I have to do another Zoom meeting with another thing, you know, until 8:30. And it's like, when does it ever end?
It
And
never ends.
it doesn't. And I'm gonna clip some of this for videos. But please, like the fucking stream, get people to subscribe. Like, I want this to be a thing. I'm really fucking cute. And I know my shit. I've been studying astrology for 18 goddamn years. And I've also been involved in spiritual and esoteric training for 18 fucking years, you know? So I know
Ricard
about, huh?
asked Frankie, do you use your chart for teaching purposes or you don't share?
Oh no, my chart's already public. Why?
Oh, somebody asked about it.
Yeah, I'll share my chart quick. Let's do that because, yeah, you see, a lot of people won't share their charts publicly because of the nefarious things that other people can apparently do with them. But I don't really believe in all that stuff. Number one, and my chart got out there public back in like 2020 anyway. So, not that anyone really cares, but at some point, people may when I'm really old. So, here's my chart. This is my chart. This is Halloween. This is Halloween, right? Aquarius rising. So Pluto is conjunct my ascendant right now, which it's, you know, a lot of people don't get that in their lifetimes, and I'm not excited about it, but here we are, you know. It's my bag to carry. They all call it transformation, but like I've already been through a lot of transformation as a trans person. And it's like, and you see, Pluto is and Saturn are square in my ascendant by degree. By degree, but they're trine by sign. So there's still a little bit of, you know, it's not all bad, is what I'm trying to say. They're both retrograde, though. Excuse me. And Saturn is exalted in Libra, you know. But my first house ruler being in my 9th house. And you see, I have this 9th house stellium. And it is a stellium because all 3 planets are technically conjunct. And the moon's here too, right? So a lot of my mental illness issues come from this or are indicated by this moon, Pluto, Saturn thing. But you see a lot of the kink and power and dominance and submission stuff that I've been involved with, you know, that's very characteristic of Saturn and Pluto square the ascendant. But the primary feature of my life, because the first house ruler is in the 9th house, has been my struggle with religion and existence and spirituality and God. I was a very pious Catholic child. I always believed very heavily in God. And I had these experiences as a child where I wasn't me and I was me. And I don't want to belabor what this all was, but I mean, these were the most amazing experiences of my life. And they're what set me on this way in order to do this stuff in the first place. But at the same time, 9th house Saturn eventually has all their beliefs ripped away from them. And as I said, I was raised very, very Catholic, and I was, you know, I loved Christ and loved Jesus. I studied the Bible. I know the Bible better than most real Christians or most people who call themselves Christians or evangelicals. I promise you, I can quote scripture better than they can, by and large. And I still love scripture. But a ninth house Saturn is a skeptic and oftentimes an atheist. And I was involved in the occult for a long time. And me being involved in the occult was also a reaction towards my religious background, being very Catholic. And then I reacted towards the occult eventually, you see? Because a ninth house Saturn, like I said, has its beliefs ripped away. And my ultimate struggle has been with the whole notion of God. And in the end, it really doesn't matter. We are where we are. And all we have to work with is our own consciousness. So that's been the primary driver and influence of my life, is just understanding consciousness and existence as much as I can. And I don't believe in things as a ninth house Saturn. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in spirituality. I don't believe in stuff. But I don't dismiss it either. I'm just on an adventure to find out what is. It's just I'm not necessarily attached to any one belief. Although I get really fanatical about ancient astrology. And sometimes I get fanatical about some Buddhist philosophy now. But to me, this is the most apparent and influential thing in my chart, right? And sort of represents my life motif. And at the same time, it also represents my ultimate pain and struggle in life, which has to do with finding meaning and understanding existence and reconciling that very subtle feeling that everything is alive with the very empirical experience of things. And these things aren't mutually exclusive, you see. It's the identification that makes it that way. The mind likes to sift things, right? But ultimately, experience is the teacher. And that's what empiricism is all about. And empiricism is very sort of indicative, or, to me, very well indicated by Saturn in the ninth house. People who are skeptical and need to base things off of their own experience. I can't accept anyone's word for it. See? And to me, that's sort of the major feature of my chart. But then right behind that ninth house thing is the fifth house thing. And as I said earlier, half my life or half my personality is astrology and existence, and the other half is sex. And it's true. Like, I'm an extremely sexual person. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, really. And I'm never malicious about it. I mean, I've had bad experiences of stuff that's happened, but for the most part, and by the most part, I mean like, 99.9%, it's been a positive thing, being a very sexual person. I'm a survivor. I'm an assault survivor. That is a thing. And in a way, I'm grateful for it because I can relate to my clients, who are 90% of my clients are also sexual assault survivors. But you see, the fifth house is children and sex. I have my North Node and my my Sun conjunct Mars down here. And Sun conjunct Mars, it's called Mars combust. It already gives aggression, right? It makes someone amplified in their aggression. And for those of you who follow me online, you could see I'm a terrible bitch. And in real life, I'm even worse.
You're not that bad.
No, get in my face. I'm not saying get in my face, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, being a trans person, I've had people like cis men, full grown big men, come up to me in grocery stores and try and start shit. And I'm like, you motherfucker, So I don't typically get in a lot of physical altercations, but it's happened once or twice. But, it's in Gemini. I'm typically talking shit, You know what I mean? And I don't put up with shit. And I am sort of an aggressive person, and that is a thing. But they're in the fifth house, and it often gives a high libido and sex drive. It also, gives us a big desire to be parents. Like I always knew I wanted to be a parent. And when I was a child, I used to fantasize about getting pregnant and giving birth and stuff, you know. But we also have high expectations of our children with the fifth house Mars. Our kids come to us and like, look, I got a B. Well, that's not an A, We have high expectations. And our children are very important to us. And we get competitive about our kids. Like, oh yeah, my kid will kick your kid's ass. My kid's better than your kid. That's Mars in the fifth house. And we have to be aware too of being, hard on our children. And remember that they are children. And that, we can't expect them to be little adults. And that's something that does happen with that. Now, Venus in the sixth house for me, right? This is divorce. This is our partners also become our enemies, But I also, sixth house, I'm a mommy. I like taking care of people, but I'm also, I'm a switch. When I'm dominant, I'm a mommy. And when I'm submissive, But that's two sides of the Cancer Venus coin, especially in the sixth house. And Venus rules my ninth house and is in the sixth. And what's that mean? Making astrology your job. So, but to me, the big focus of my chart is really in this ninth house thing and the fifth house thing. Astrology and sex. Those are the two biggest parts of my life and my personality, And, the fifth house is very performative. It's acting and music and creativity, this sort of pleasurable stuff. And it gets that from Venus, but all that stuff ultimately relates back to sex. That's one of the most important things in my life. And I don't think that's a shallow thing necessarily either. It's just everyone has their passion, And when you have the 10th house ruler like I have in the fifth house, it can often signify an adult creator, right? Someone who makes adult content, which I also do, but also people who do performance in some way, right? So, I don't know if that's necessarily reflective or indicative about all this bullshit that we're doing, no, but I'd like to think so. The fifth house is also gambling and risks. And you could think about a small business as a gamble and a risk, can't you? So, anyway, that's just teeny bit of nonsense. Nonsense. What's it say here? Frankie, I was shooting my bow yesterday. I caught my boob in the bowstring. I'm so bruised. Lefty took one for the team. Thanks for, of course. Of course, my darling. Shooting, I hate typos. I hate typos. Frankie, you're gorgeous. Thank you, Mary. Do you share your chart for teaching purposes? Yes, I do. I just did. Yep. I think Amber and I would be buddies. I think you would too. See, I should learn archery, but I was raised in a military family and I grew up shooting guns. I study charts, would love that. Amen. Survival. Am I the oldest of my siblings? No, I'm a middle sibling. My dad had been married 3 times. And first was my older sister, who is almost 60. She was born in 1965. Then there was my older brother, who's 7 years younger. Yeah. So he was 1970 something. And then I'm 1983. So I'm sort of like, but I was from my dad's second marriage. And then my little brother is 1987, also from my dad's second marriage. So, I mean, I'm one of four technically, but my older sister and I got super close after our dad died, and we're really close. And my little brother and I are like best friends. You know, he's broken my nose twice, but we're still best friends. What else was on here? Am I the oldest siblings, both sexes? In Gemini, both, I don't know what that means. In Gemini, both sexes. Victoria Brawless. That's awesome. Brawless. What's up, yo? Unfortunately, it's time for us to go. But we're gonna clip the Venus enclosure stuff for another video, hopefully tomorrow. So thank you all for coming. Please invite your friends, like the stream, please, and subscribe. It's really important to me. Like, we never have that many people show up, and it would be great to have more people. Like, it would be great if we could get up to, like, say, 30 people. That would be amazing. That would be super cool. But I'm not going to hold my breath, but please try and help a sister out. You have anything you want to say, Amber?
No, I hope everyone has a good night tonight or day or whenever you're watching this.
That's why I say in my videos, whatever you're having, because I have a lot of Australian people, and the Aussies are like having a different time of day typically. But anyway, thank you. Thank you, Amber. I have $5 to share with you. Thank you, Astro Witch. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Astro Witch. We appreciate you.
We do. And have a wonderful evening, my loves. Please, please, please.